Welcome to another video, A Walk with Phil, and I'm here in West Bromwich. And what I thought I'd do today is take you to a street that was once one of the largest industrial streets in the whole of West Bromwich. In fact, at one time it is said that between the 1930s and the 1970s this street actually employed around 15,000 people. So let's go and have a look and see if there's any signs of that industrial heritage. We're actually on Old Meeting Street, and as usual many of the streets in West Bromwich are extraordinarily noisy. This is no different, but just up there where Aldi is, there was a factory up there that used to make nails and brads, and I'm sure it used to be green back in the 70s, and I always used to see it because up ahead, before all that road layout was changed, it was just one straight road into Carter's Green. But where Aldi is, there used to be a factory there, as I said, used to make nails, and it used to be called Hall and Rice. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Just here to my right, we've got these were armhouses, and they're actually called Ackrell Homes. And back in the 30s, there was an industrialist by the name of Ackrell who owned one of the nearby foundries, and he built 14, I think, cottage homes here on this estate which can house up to 24 elderly residents. Yeah, it's been here since 1932. Okay, folks, so let's have a walk along here then, Old Meeting Street. And Old Meeting Street, I've seen a lot of changes. Obviously, with all on my left, there'd be a lot of terrace properties back in the day. This road, if you carry on, will join Black Lake right up to a hilltop. Yeah, and hilltop, and it would go down Holloway Bank all the way into Wednesbury. Just here on my right is the halfway house. I'm not sure it was the halfway to and from, but it's no longer a pub, although we've still got the signs on there denoting it was once a pub, the halfway house, but now I believe it's been converted into one-bedroom flats. This road is called Greswell Street. And this building on the corner, this old terrace property on the corner, used to be car servicing place, servicing cars, MOTs. On my right is an old building. It used to be a Sunday school, dating from 1906. Yeah, now part of a Hindu temple. Just opposite here, there used to stand a pub just over here somewhere called the Roebuck. That was knocked down a long time ago, but next to the Roebuck there was a whole row of terraced houses that went right to where the traffic lights are, and they didn't get bulldozed till around 2002. Yeah, here in this Hindu temple used to be the site of a congregational church. We're walking now towards Church Lane, which will be on our right as we approach the traffic lights. Just here on my right, here where all these new flats are, because they're all built like this now, aren't they? Just on the corner used to be a pub called the Edward VII. The Edward VII. Yeah, the King Edward VII pub was demolished to make way for all these flats. Church Lane is a very, very busy road, very noisy road. And just where that £13 million development was on the corner of New Swan Lane was the site of the Black Lake Iron Foundry. Yeah, the Black Lake Iron Foundry was built in 1923. Opposite there was the Black Lake House, and I think all this property in front of me used to be All this factory in front of me used to be the Glisten Works back in the 30s. Okay, let's go down Church Lane then. Just here on my right was the King Edward VII pub. It used to have a toilet block here. These windows were. And yeah, anybody off the street could just walk in. I wasn't really part of the pub as such. Now just coming up here to a road here, this is Brett Street. Brett Street. Now just up there where all those houses were, all along there used to be something called the Barrel Works. There was an iron foundry up there, up here on the left of Brett Street. And there were also a brickworks with several clay pits all along this particular road on the left of Brett Street. Yeah. And opposite here, Brett Street, where all these trees are, there used to be allotments. And beyond there was the West Bromwich Corporation tip, refuse tip. Not that I can remember any of that. Convenience store here on the right. This has been here for years. Used to be a newsagent's. Also of interest down here, of course, on the left was another factory. It's going to be very difficult to locate it exactly. But there was a company on the left called the Reliance Works, owned by, or I think it was called Adams & Co. And it was a glue factory. The manufacture of adhesives here on my left. This is a new road in the 50s, 40s, 50s, Kempston Avenue. Ridgeacre Road there is just over there. And we've also now got the Ridgeacre Trade Park. Ridgeacre is named after the Ridgeacre Canal. Several factory units. As I said, the Reliance Works was just over there by the trees. We're coming up to Byron Street. It's got a few units on the Ridgeacre Trade Park. All these new roads that were created in the 40s, 50s, and all these newer properties up there look like 60s builds, was all land that used to be part of a brick making company, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah, this is a very busy road, Church Lane. I mean, what it does in effect is it goes all the way up to Newton Road in West Brom, the old part of West Bromwich. I'm coming to another very industrialised area of this street, where there were several foundries, and just ahead of me is the Queen's Head pub. And it's still a pub actually, which is unusual for a lot of these backstreet pubs now. As you know, many of them have all closed down now. Just pan here to my left there, we've got Ridgeacre Road. Again, many factory units up there. Yeah, this is a fairly new road. This is called Small Street, and Small Street, as you can see, is now got a lot of newer properties on here. Now, where all these new houses are behind the Queen's Head would have been the site of yet another foundry. Yeah, just behind it would have been the Ridgeacre Foundry, and beyond the Ridgeacre Foundry, the Staffordshire Wire Mills was later the nail makers, Hall and Rice, which they moved premises to the corner of Gladstone Street, and they were trading right up until, I'm sure it was in the 80s. And also the main factory, as I mentioned earlier, was in Old Meeting Street. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of activity behind the Queen's Head. As I'm just approaching the Gladstone Street on my right, and where all these cars are coming down, just over that brow of the hill there, that was Jesson's Bridge. You see, back in the day, there was the Birmingham Canal that ran underneath Black Lake, and there was a branch of they created a branch of that Birmingham Canal that ran underneath this bridge to serve many of the foundries around this area, using coal barges to power their many foundries. I mean, right opposite here, all along here would have been several iron foundries. There was the Ridgeacre Ironworks just here. We find all these trees, the Ridgeacre Ironworks, and just here where all these new builds are, that was the premises of Hall and Rice, the nail makers. I don't know, back in the 70s this foundry here was still operating. There were several ironworks, as I said earlier. There was the Waterloo Ironworks that was just down the slope, and behind that was the Ridgeacre Ironworks. And the canal would run underneath this bridge, and it would enter here somewhere. That's something I can't remember. Under this bridge there'd be the branch of the canal that would run round this particular factory here ahead of me. Let's just pan you down here a bit. Let's have a look down here. You can see this is Gladstone Street, part of the Tantony estate. Hall and Rice used to be here on the corner. And they had several owners, these iron foundries around here. The Ridgeacre, the Waterloo. And I think one of the owners from the 1850s was Thomas Johnson. And I think one of this foundry here on the bridge here was, I think it was known as Johnson's. You used to be able to see them working in the foundry as you walked along that side of the road. I remember it well. They used to have these shifts of 6 till 2, 2 till 10, 10 till 6, and I'd be walking around here about 11 o'clock at night down here, and you could see them all working inside the factory. And yeah, there's Johnson's Bridge Road, so that's named after the owners of the ironworks, Johnson. I think some of these ironworks round the back there carried on till around 1969 before closing down. Now I'm going to cross here. I'm going to show you something else which is just on my right. Quick look up Johnson's Bridge Road there. Yeah, here on my right was this huge factory complex, which has been here as long as, well, obviously since the 1890s. It's been here since the 1890s. And it's got wall plan limited. I don't know what wall plan was, but that's always had wall plan on. This was the Oriental Tube Works. Before it started making electrical conduits. But it used to make tubes and stuff when it first opened back in the 1890s. It was taken over by GEC in the 60s. But now it's been long gone, and of course now it's a lot of factory units. There was talk that they'd knock all this down and build a housing estate. This road now is named after, looks like it's named after hills in the Lake District, I think, Scarfell Way. But you can see, yeah, look, there's all this greenery and trees. That used to be the sites of all those foundries, as I mentioned earlier. Here on my left was the second pub along Church Lane. This was called the Nag's Head, but as you can see the Nag's Head is no longer, it's a local convenience store. There's the car park there behind the Nag's Head. No, I've just gone past the Nag's Head. Now I don't know exactly, and I can't really pinpoint it, but there used to be a chemical works around here on my left that was definitely around in the 70s, but unfortunately I don't know where exactly it was, and if anybody knows where it was called Keys. It was owned by Samuel Keys, and it was built in the 1880s around here, the chemical works. And it was not uncommon for them to have major explosions in these chemical works, particularly in 1962 when somebody was killed at the factory. And also in 1970 there was a huge explosion of 1,000 gallons of tar that set the canal alight. That must have been that must have been a sight to have seen. There's still part of the tube works, the Oriental Tube Works here. They've still got many of the perimeter wall. The perimeter wall ahead of me on my right. Just ahead of me now we've got Tiverton Drive here, which is a lot of new builds. But where all these trees are to my left here, that was the beginning of Val's, I think it was Val's foundry. It was actually called All End Foundry, I believe. And it was only a small factory at one time, built in 1905. And it gradually expanded to take up most of this corner plot, which I'll show you in a second. To my right here, ahead of me here, there's a walkway that would take you into Tantony Estate, and also towards Carter's Green. That was the site of a brickworks. It was called the All End Brickworks, and it had a famous marl hole down there, clay pit, where Val's used to dump all their pollution and rubbish in there. Yeah. The brickworks now has been landscaped, and also there's been a school built on there. Yeah, Val's itself was quite a big foundry. And it was still going in the 70s, I think. There's a company around here called Lander Tubular Products. So at least there is some industry still going on here in Church Lane. When you think about all the number of factories and foundries and brickworks that was along this lane, and now to find just one solitary factory here on my left that's still going, amazing really. You got Wilford Road there, and there's the school. Just there on my right, that's built on the old brickworks. You've got a few shops here on my right. One stop convenience store. We've got a barber shop over there. Well, you know, you've got to have a barber shop, as I said. Always got to have a barber shop in these towns. There's a cafe. There's been a cafe there as long as I can remember. And also the Lucky Penny Fish Part. Yeah, there's always been a chip shop there as well. Is Isha Road over there? On the corner of Bank Street now. Bank Street was another area of industry. Again, it's something I can't exactly pinpoint. Again, it's not something I can exactly pinpoint, but just there where their trees are, would that have been Churchfield Springs? Yeah, I remember Churchfield Springs, and down there is a road named after Val's, Val's Road. I can't exactly know where this is, but am I right in thinking that opposite Churchfield Springs there would have been another foundry called Sandwell Castings? Yeah, I think there was. Sandwell Castings. Well, there was a Sandwell Castings, but I'm not sure exactly where it was. I'm sure many of you watching this will know exactly where these factories were. Okay folks, I think we'll wrap it up now. Can you imagine 15,000 people all working along this particular street back in the day? Amazing. The noise, the spectacle, all these people clocking in and clocking off. But now there's nothing really left of what was once a mighty industrial road called Church Lane. Sad really. But anyway, I hope you liked the video, and if you did, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell for new videos, and I'll see you on the next one.